Brothers and sisters, so during Lent, I did a series on contemplative prayer, and I just wanted to revisit today just some of the initial things I said about that. I said, because we always need to be reminded, right? So contemplative prayer, to experience the depths of the mystery of Jesus Christ in recollection, in solitude, in silence, in just gazing on him in faith. There are some things that we should know and acknowledge first of all. And I said that first of all, this kind of deep prayer, this immersion into the life of the Trinity is not a technique that can be mastered. Sure, things you could do like, body posture, certainly finding silence and solitude, etc. But it's not Christian yoga, basically was the point. It's not something we could master by natural effort alone, this deep kind of prayer. And that's really important to acknowledge. St. Teresa of Avila says that the whole edifice of prayer, the whole building of prayer is built on the virtue of humility, which recognizes that I'm completely dependent on God and not myself. That recognition that I have to be completely just attached to Christ is really, really key when you're setting out this kind of prayer. It seems at first a bit frustrating to our human pride when we hear that, but it's really liberating to know that this deep prayer I'm speaking about is not something we can master, but it is a grace. It's a gift to be received from God. So therefore, if that's the case, then we should be talking about, well, what are the conditions by which we can receive this gift, rather than a technique which places the emphasis on me and makes the seeking in prayer about me and my self-centeredness. And that could be very subtle, but already it puts us in the wrong direction in prayer, because prayer is about going out of self into the infinite mystery of God. It's like swimming out into the ocean, You leave the shore, you leave what is known, and you go into a place that is quite deep. So the first condition that I had mentioned a while back was faith. That we can't pray without faith. Faith, first of all, that God is present. That he is truly with me. Faith that I can acknowledge that God's presence is around me. That I can acknowledge God sees me, that he knows me. And it's that deep act of faith. And we begin with that simple act of faith. That's where it begins. It's also faith in God's word. And this is what keeps us going when we get discouraged. That God has said things to us. That really, do we believe God's word, his promises? See, true prayer is based on the promises of God, about what God will do for us in prayer. And not based on our consolations, our feelings, our strength. And this is why I said, thank God it's not a grace to be mastered, because some people are good at physical postures, or good at discipline in mind and heart, or they're just naturally better in some ways. But if some people feel that I can't do that, then they would be discouraged in this kind of prayer. But what we can all do is create a space to try and be ruthless with finding that alone time with God. That's really the first condition we need, that and faith and perseverance. So coming back to faith in God's word, God said that, shut yourself in your room. Go and pray to your Father who is there in secret. So Jesus telling us, your Father is there in secret. So it's not faith that the presence of the Father, that loving, gentle presence of the Father that Jesus revealed in his heart when he said, I am meek and humble of heart. All those who are labored and overburdened, come find rest. Come rest on me. That's what this prayer is. It's about resting on Jesus' heart by faith, knowing that he's there, knowing that you could be in him. So that's really the beginning. And then it's also faith in the fruitfulness of prayer. That prayer is fruitful. It brings many, many consolations, many graces, many things if we persevere. And our initial experience may not always tell us it's fruitful, but through experience over time, we see that prayer is fruitful. This kind of prayer is fruitful for nourishing my sense of presence with God in my daily life. And so our faith in in the fruitfulness of prayer helps us to persevere in prayer. You know, so we have to get these right things right. That is that faith that God will supply the deepest riches to our heart. It's like the letter to St. James, I think chapter 5 says, you know, that be patient, wait for the Lord's coming. You know, it's just like a farmer has to wait for the seed in the ground to grow into a harvest. Same thing with prayer. And obviously the big part about where we start to see the fruitfulness of prayer is perseverance. Being relentless and having that time every day, sticking to this time of prayer. And we need 25 minutes, at least. 5 minutes is something we give to people who we don't want to spend that much time with, or we want to try and cast away. 25 minutes is the minimum that we need to give every day. It's better than, say, just doing 2 hours once a week. It's a faithful continuation of this prayer every day that will yield the manifestation of Christ to us.